everybody again. In this session we're going to see how to run the OHC content notebook. So once we have followed the instruction to save it in our workspace, we can start running the notebook. It's very easy. We can run it cell by cell. So the first are simply markdown instruction. Then we install the packages and libraries needed for the computation. We define the metadata. And then the part of the data reading. We read the bathymetry file, and we define some input and output directory to save our output. This will create the output where the output are going to store. Here we define the range for our climatology. Here are some attributes of the future.netcdf file. Here the grid selection where the depth layers and the longitude and latitude grid are settled. And in the follow widget, we can define the range on which to evaluate the oceanic content, so the area, the depth layer, and the time range. Now execute all the cells to have all the Mediterranean oceanic content profile. And then we load the mask to separate Earth and ocean coordinates. I define the suffix that has the extreme of our longitude, latitude, and depth range. And here a simple plot to see if the mask is correct. This is a check on the mask again, and here I load the temperature file with the temperature fields, find my climatology on which to calculate the oceanic content profile. Here some example plot to see if actually it makes sense. Okay, here for example the average temperature between these years at 10 meters of depth. And here the Hofmöller graph for the range selected. And again the same graph, but instead of the average temperature, here we will have the temperature anomaly for the period selected. Okay, we have this for all the depth layers, and for the time window that we want to analyze, you can see the depth anomaly actually in the last years is positive for all the column of water. Here we define some constants to the computation of the oceanic content. We select the depth, and here the cell of the computation, where actually the integral that evaluates the oceanic content along the depth profile that we're interested in is evaluated. It is actually quick. And then the final plot with the temperature anomaly trend for the time window selected and for the column of depth chosen. and the oceanid content profile for the same configuration. And finally, the netcdf saving. Where can we find our output? So this graph and the netcdf, we can go to our workspace, May, oceanid content, and here we can find our output, the netcdf, and for example the graph, the plot that are shown also in the notebook. Thank you.